Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. First call, ongoing dialogue between Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, team interested in college QBs. Thursday's first call has the latest spin on the Aaron Rodgers saga from a Pittsburgh perspective. There's news about some potential college quarterbacks in the draft, as well. The Steelers are lobbying for some changes to free agency. And we have career updates regarding a pair of former Steelers. One is continuing his playing career. The other is rebooting his coaching career. No more Viking quest. The Minnesota Vikings are apparently out of the Aaron Rodgers bidding process, if they were ever in it in the first place. As a result, it appears that Rodgers' choices are narrowed to 4 options: Pittsburgh Steelers, New York Giants, retirement, wait until after the draft, or training camps, to see who may still need a QB later. In terms of the Steelers' interest, the NFL Network's Tom Pelissero said lines of communication are still open between the two sides. For the Steelers, we know that they have prioritized Aaron Rodgers over potentially bringing back Russell Wilson, Pelissero said. I am told there is ongoing dialogue between the Steelers, Rodgers' agent, as well Aaron Rodgers himself, and various members of the organization. Pelissero added that the Steelers are willing to wait for Rodgers' decision. However, if Rodgers does decide to wait through the draft, the Steelers shouldn't hesitate when it comes to drafting a quarterback over the first 2 days. If they like Jackson Dart, Tyler Shaw, or Jalen Milroe, they should draft them. But that should happen only if the front office really likes them, not because the team is desperate because of Rodgers' inactivity. On that topic, meanwhile, Mike Tomlin and others from the franchise had dinner with Milroe at Alabama's Pro Day earlier this week. Milroe racked up 27 starts over 4 years with the Crimson Tide, totaling 45 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. He was 6th in the Heisman Trophy balloting in 2023 before having more of an up-and-down campaign as a senior. ESPN previously reported that Shaw was a pre-draft meeting visitor of the Steelers. He also spoke with the organization at the Combine in Indianapolis. Over 7 years in college, 3 at Oregon, 3 at Texas Tech and 1 with Louisville, Shaw threw for 7,820 yards and 59 touchdowns against 23 interceptions. He was 21-11 and averaged 8.2 yards per attempt. But he never started more than 5 games in a year until this season, when he started 12 for the Cardinals. Tampering tweaks. The Steelers are proposing rules changes to the NFL's legal tampering period and free agency policies. According to resolution proposals submitted for 2025 by teams across the league, the Steelers want clearance for franchises to conduct a single, hour-long video call with an unrestricted free agent during the 2-day negotiating period. Currently, teams can contact pending free agents only through their negotiating representatives. Yet, they can have any type of contact with their own pending free agents and players who have been released by their previous teams. The Steelers also want freedom to book travel for players that have agreed to terms during the signing period. That way, they can travel to their new city and officially sign their contract at the start of the new league year. For instance, earlier this month, the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf and agreed to terms with Darius Slay and Malik Henderson early during the legal tampering period. However, they weren't able to report to Pittsburgh to sign those contracts until a few days after the new league year officially started. Film room: what the Steelers are getting in DL Esezi Odomwo. Entering the offseason with a glaring need along the defensive line, the Pittsburgh Steelers found the prices to be too high on the open market for the position group, missing out on some of the big names on the open market. Cutting Larry Ogunjobi and seeing him sign with the Buffalo Bills hurt that position group even further for the Steelers. But since then, the Steelers have done well to add bodies to the group, including veteran Daniel Equali on a 1-year deal, re-signing veteran Isaiah Loudermilk, and on Wednesday, they added to the group again, adding Esezi Odomwo to provide depth and experience in the trenches this offseason. Odomwo comes to the Steelers at just 26 years old. He turns 27 on May 9. A former fifth-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings in the 2022 NFL Draft at number 165 overall, Odomwo doesn't have much production in his career, with just 9 tackles and half a sack. However, he has 180 career snaps on defense and another 87 snaps on special teams across the 2022 and 2024 seasons with the Vikings and Jacksonville Jaguars. In 2024, he played 90 defensive snaps, with 77 lined up in the B-gap and 13 snaps lined over the tackle, according to Pro Football Focus. In 2022, in Minnesota, there were 63 snaps in the B-gap, 2 snaps in the A-gap, 13 snaps over the tackle, and 11 snaps outside of the tackle. So, what does Odomwo offer the Steelers along the defensive line? Let's take a look. Listed at 6'5", 282 pounds with 34.5-inch arms, Odomwo has good size and length for the position, which should theoretically make him a sound run defender. But throughout the 2024 season, in his limited defensive snaps, he really struggled against the run. Odomwo graded out at a 29.8 against the run from PFF. He doesn't get off blocks all that well, struggles to anchor against double teams, and generally isn't all that effective against the run unless he's working down the line of scrimmage from the backside on runs. There are some decent moments against the run on tape, though. Here against Indianapolis in Week 5 in goal line, Odomwo is lined up in the B-gap just inside of right tackle Braden Smith. Will Steelers players welcome Aaron Rodgers into locker room? The Pittsburgh Steelers are now 8 days into the 2025 NFL year. They still don't know who their starting quarterback will be. Despite the Minnesota Vikings not throwing their hat into the Rodgers ring, a decision still doesn't seem likely to come anytime soon. Angst is building outside and inside the Steelers building. Face of the franchise Cam Hayward made that clear with his "Who Cares" sentiment on his podcast, declining to recruit Rodgers and effectively telling him to sign or not. That's not a philosophical stance. Hayward recruited Darius Slay to sign with Pittsburgh. If Hayward feels comfortable saying it out loud, it's easy to imagine how players are talking internally. For the second straight year, Pittsburgh is at the mercy of a long-standing player decision saga. In 2024, it was WR Brandon Ayuk. In 2025, it's QB Aaron Rodgers. A storyline that hopefully won't take months to complete, but one that comes at sports' most important position. The longer Rodgers waits, the less it seems like he's all in on Pittsburgh. Reports have already noted that the Steelers are his second choice. Had the Vikings been players, he would have gone to Minnesota. For all of Russell Wilson's warts, and there are many, he's been eager to return to Pittsburgh and didn't drag out his free agent journey. He spoke with the Steelers, made a pit stop to New York, flew into Pittsburgh, and signed. Of course, if Rodgers becomes a Steeler, the rest of the locker room has to roll with it. There's no other choice. And if he and the team play well, all will be forgiven and forgotten. But it doesn't sound like the locker room is thrilled with how any of this has played out. Who could be? Pittsburgh set to go a second straight season with complete turnover at quarterback. Justin Fields, liked by players and coaches, is in New York. Wilson, who at least had the players' respect, is left twisting in the wind despite the Steelers' public comments of wanting him or Fields back. Clearly, a lie. And so the Steelers are left waiting on Rodgers and all the storylines he brings even before setting foot in the locker room. And you, fan? What do you think about Aaron Rodgers' situation? Write to us in the comments.